afternoon. Welcome to Community and Technology. We connect the global community with news, information, and resources that will help improve your life. I'm Stu Reid with my co-host Dave Burstein. Hey, Dave.
Hey, you're going to be able to see me better next week. I
Yeah,
just
what's
added a little ring light, so there's more light on me, which really does make a huge difference.
okay? Yeah, for those of you on the radio only, we also video record our show here on Community and Technology, available on our we're streaming live on WHCI.org and also on our Streaming University channel on YouTube. Streaming University, one word. Go there and you can see all of our community technology shows, including today's show.
And
And
as
Dave
I
is about
said,
to prove his videography. Go ahead, Dave.
I was just saying that it's going to make me look a little bit better and
Hmm.
make it easier to follow.
Yeah.
Uh, and what I discovered when I looked at it, there's a slew of what looks like perfectly decent units between $20 and $30 at all the usual sources.
Yeah, and relatively inexpensive, but significant improvement for those of you that do regular Zooms or webinars or any online video. It's an investment worth making. Dave, when I was first learning photography and video, the two things that were hard to learn but were so critical: lighting and sound. If you got good lighting and good sound, everything else kind of falls into place.
You've never done a video with Jenny, have you?
No, I haven't.
For a talking head, she spends half an hour setting up,
Yeah.
moving around the room, seeing where the light is, moving the
Hmm.
shades.
Hmm. I learned photography from my brother, Buster. So he's gone now, but this is back in the days of Tri-X film, black and white film, Dave. And shooting in black and white, at least I really learned about lighting. It's not as evident so much in color. It's much harder to read it, but in black and white photography, it's startling. And if you start out in black and white, you really get a sense of what lighting's all about.
And I've got some things to say about that, but let's get some of the news out of the way
Okay,
first.
so what's going on? What's the latest?
What's the latest? Well, on a previous show, I said that killer robots are here.
Mhm.
That is a term that everybody is scared about. We talked in that show about how killer robots, in the form of drones in particular, were enormously important and certainly were able to run on their own, decide who to kill and who not to kill.
Mhm.
Uh, Killer robots is a term that the U.S. State Department has been very opposed to.
Mhm.
And the U.S. was one of two countries in this hemisphere, all of Latin America, all of the Caribbean, voted for a resolution not to allow AIs to kill people without supervision by a human being.
Mhm.
Well, the Ukrainians are picking up hundreds of drones that will be used just that way. The Russians are jamming the battlefield, so they can't control the drones. So they've definitely, according to the New York Times, that used the term killer robots in the headline, the Ukrainians are going to be seriously sending out drones designed to find their targets and kill people.
So, Dave, if I understand the difference here, the folks are I guess probably on both sides are like kind of jamming the airwaves so that the operators cannot control the drones. But with these new drones that have AI, they don't need to be controlled. They find their own targets, so the jamming is ineffective. Is that what's going on?
And that's exactly what's going on. The
Hmm.
Israelis are probably using similar, but there's no good proof on that. And obviously, the United States and China and everybody else has built them.
Hmm.
Like some of the ones the Ukrainians were using were built in the United States. And the CEO of the company that built it said, yes, they could operate autonomously. That's up to the countries making their decision. But he's built it.
Wow.
Uh,
That's
I
kind of scary,
deliberately,
Dave. I mean, where's that going to go? Where's that going to evolve to a few years down the road? I mean, that's a startling use of AI technology.
I think our listeners can figure that out themselves and don't need to hear anything from me.
Hmm.
I think it's pretty obvious what's going on there. Okay, what's the next story?
Well, I just in passing is not nearly as a negative, but the technology, nevertheless, here in New York City, Mayor Adams just announced a drone program to be used by NYPD as drones as first responders. I think it's called DFR, where they're going to deploy initially 100 drones in about five select targeted precincts that are going to go around and monitor what's going on. 24/7, they're going to be in the air, collecting data, looking for crime. Um, According to the NYPD, there is no AI involved in these drones, Dave. Or at least not at this point in time.
Well,
But
I know
nevertheless,
enough to
the
add an
outflying, the
AI
recording.
controller to you.
What's that?
I, I, just one random person working with AI, know enough to add AI to monitor those drones.
Right.
So I'm sure they intend to. It's
Yeah,
not.
that's,
It's
I mean,
very easy to do.
not a big leap whatsoever. And what one of the questions is they had a press conference recently. Nobody asked a question, but this reporter did for this is for Harlem, New York, New York Patch writer said no one asked about what are some of the unacceptable uses, which they had talked about back 6 years ago when they first began a drone program. NYPD listed a number of unacceptable uses, including routine patrol, traffic enforcement, immobilizing vehicles or suspects, being used as a weapon or equipped with a weapon, and search without a warrant. That last one, search without a warrant, really jumped out to me because I suspect they're going to be doing a lot of that. But nevertheless, none of those questions were asked at the press conference, nor were they in the press release from the city or NYPD. So we do not know whether there are any unacceptable uses of these new drones. I'll say stay tuned.
Next,
Okay. Um, one of the things, we talked about this a lot. I'm back to the social media and kids. You and I, Dave, have talked a lot about censoring, controlling the information flow. Anyway, the story just came out of Australia that they have just passed a regulation that bans kids 16 and under from using social media. There's a lot of uproar from parents and parent groups around kids that have been sextorted, that have been intimidated, some that have even been killed by predators that use the internet. And that's the impetus behind this banning of social media for kids under 16. Now, from where I sit, I don't know how in the heck they're going to enforce anything like that, Dave. But clearly they're looking at a problem that is a problem and for which there are no easy answers. One of they talked to a young person in Australia who's a big podcaster and a big user of social media. And his statement was, look, you old folks don't understand social media. That's where we get all of our information. That's what we grew up on. And it's ridiculous to try and ban the use of it for young people. I mean, it's our lifeblood. We don't read newspapers. We don't listen to the radio. We don't get our news from TV. We get it from the internet and from social media. So, it's probably a losing battle day, but still there is that big problem out there, and I don't know how it's going to be ameliorated, if at all.
well, there's a lot going on, and there are some things that people want to do that might make a difference, but might be very objectionable.
Mhm.
First, in the US, we say we don't want to allow it to people under 13. And there are already two states that have passed a law regulating social media for people under 13.
Mhm.
Uh, those are tied up in court and probably will be tied up in court for a few years. The Europeans are getting fairly serious about that.
Mhm.
They're having a big thing about you will have to sign on with a government issued picture ID
Mhm.
when you join. That seems
Where is this, Dave? Where in Europe? Where is this?
Europe.
Europe. Okay.
The European Union themselves, and some countries want to do it and some don't. And I
Mhm.
don't remember any of the details. That is the only way I can think of that would possibly, well, it wouldn't totally enforce it, but it would make it much harder for kids to get on.
Mhm.
Obviously, that means you're losing your anonymity, you're letting the carrier see who you are, and as
Yeah.
we know,
Yeah. That could actually feed into the problem, couldn't it?
yeah, AT&T and Verizon have just gone to court against the FCC.
Mhm.
Why? The FCC said that the two companies can't sell location data,
Mhm.
i.e., where you've been
Mhm.
and when, and everybody who's been in an area. We've talked about this a lot.
Yes, we have.
And the phone companies are saying there is no law that allows the FCC to stop us
Mm.
from surveilling people and selling that information to customs.
Mhm.
Now, when we're talking about immigration and customs, that is as scary as you can imagine
Yeah.
for millions of people.
Mhm.
But you don't need us to tell you about that
Yeah.
one.
Mhm.
Next.
Now, Dave, the new incoming president, I think he's already appointed a new FCC chair. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a traditional conservative who's been on the FCC, so we know who he is and we know what his record is.
Mhm.
Unlike many people in Washington, well, I shouldn't say that. Like many people in Washington, even though his politics are very different from mine, and I strongly oppose him, I have the feeling he's an honest man trying to do the best job he can
Mhm.
within his conservative views.
Mhm.
He jumped into the Trump campaign. He was one of the authors of the 2025 document on how you can establish an authoritarian state
Mhm.
in America.
Yeah, this guy's name is Brendan Carr, by the way, the new incoming
Yeah,
FCC
Brendan Carr.
chair.
Uh, he works pretty hard, but he doesn't understand the technology he's regulating.
Mhm.
That's true of almost everybody at the FCC. They were all liars.
Liars, Dave? Really?
Lawyers,
Oh,
lawyers.
lawyer. Oh, sorry.
And you know what
Those
you
words sound so
know
much
what
alike.
Shakespeare
Sorry.
say about lawyers. They all are liars in Washington. Even the people who are friends that I have enormous respect for and doing a really good job,
Mhm.
I've noticed over the years, and I'm thinking of Jessica Rosenworcel, who's the current head of the FCC, who I've known for 20 years. And I've watched how the ones, people like that who succeed in Washington, have made a lot of compromises and don't talk about a lot of things.
Mhm.
Uh, and that, but on Carr, he's going to eliminate net neutrality.
Okay.
Now, last time the Republicans were in under Trump, they got rid of net neutrality.
Right.
Stu, how much effect did that have on what people actually could do?
I don't, from what I said, David had no effect. I mean, maybe I'm myopic, but I didn't see any impact. I didn't see any impact. Maybe it impacted the carriers and the pricing and the way that they serve it up to us, but I did not see any direct impact. How about yourself?
Well, we are, this radio show is one of the few media who, before they eliminated net neutrality, said it probably wouldn't have much effect
Mhm.
because I knew two things. One, that the threat of bringing back net neutrality would push people like AT&T and Verizon and Comcast not to do outrageous things
Mhm.
because they didn't want to get neutrality, which has to do, they care about some of the pricing thing. The other thing is, how do the phone companies make more money if not being neutral? Well, the original thought was that they would give preference to some services. In other words, Apple TV might run faster than HBO
Mhm.
in our house. Nobody's done that anywhere in the world, although a lot of the phone companies swore they were going to do it and planned doing it. And so did Cox Cable here in the United States. But it was so resisted that we haven't seen that happening. So there's not that much that's affected by net neutrality, except some of the interconnections and the cost and how much it'll cost Netflix to get to you. But it's probably not going to be that much to be a big published issue. Although those people who agree with me on loads of other things, I'm on the left. No, I don't hide that. Uh, think net neutrality is a great big thing and a great big fight, and we're going to hear lots of nonsense from everybody if the fight goes on.
Mhm.
We,
Sounds like a lot of smoke and mirrors, Dave, and not a lot of substance at the end of the day.
well, possibly because the fear of strongly enforced net neutrality scares the phone companies.
Mhm.
Uh, and that fear is, if they're not going to make that much money from it, why cause a problem?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Are there, before we get off the topic, do you see any other regulations coming down that might affect consumers, that might affect regular folks here on the ground with this new administration?
Brendan Carr is like the Republicans in Congress, somebody who does not think the interest of poor people should be paramount.
Hmm. Also, we know ACP is not coming back, Affordable Connectivity Program, the subsidy for internet. We know that's not coming back.
And he opposed it
Mm-hmm.
and already.
Right.
Uh, in some ways, he said it's good for this and bad for that, but I think people actually voted against it when it came down to that.
Hmm.
We're going to have questions about Lifeline and universal service.
Hmm.
And again, the people who are going to be running this country for the next 4 years do not think that is so important. There will be loads of this. Now, the interesting thing is the way the press is writing them up. They're writing them up as being anti-technology companies. I don't know how far that goes. Trump, obviously. Trump has said he's going to put Google out of business because they're censoring the people he wants to get through. Uh, among the people coming into power, starting right at the top with Trump, are folks who want to put strong regulation on the big technology companies. The best guess is that they won't do that much of it, and they probably will, for example, drop the antitrust suits against Facebook and Google. But we don't know. And these folks see the big technology companies as having far too much power, and they're right.
Yeah. And I think Elon Musk is not going to go for that cutting back the tech companies either. I mean, from where I said, they're talking a lot of stuff, but I think they're going to back off of regulating these giant corporations. That's just my gut.
Yeah, Musk is a hard one to figure, partly because he's totally irrational on a lot of things and changes his mind and is not consistent. But a few years ago, he did sign the petition saying that major AI
Yes,
models,
I
the
remember
really
that.
powerful stuff, the
Mhm.
LLMs, the frontier models,
Mhm.
should be held off for a while until we understand how to make them completely safe.
Mhm.
I signed that petition too, incidentally.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, and he has been, Musk is the absolute perfect proof that you can be brilliant at some things, think you know everything, and get totally off the wall in other topics.
Right.
So Musk is a brilliant engineer.
Mhm.
SpaceLink is an enormous achievement. Tesla is an enormous achievement. And I've heard from engineers who've worked with him, is he's not merely a good engineer, he has the ability to inspire other engineers
Mhm.
to work harder than they did at the time.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, is getting some of these things right and making all the money he made has convinced him he knows everything.
Yeah, that's a problem with success. Yeah. Dave, we're just about at the halfway point. Was there something you wanted to drop on us before we go to break?
Yeah,
Okay, here we go.
I this was a kicker. We had two kickers this show. So I wanted to there's a really interesting one coming at the end. In fact, let me tell you what that will be. The music you're about to hear is from what is apparently a remarkable Broadway play
Mhm.
that got an absolute rave in the Times that I'll cover at the end of the show, called Maybe Happy Endings. Two robots falling in love. In the future, when the robots have more ability, which they will, whether they're going to be sentient and have the ability to love, everybody's arguing about that, and nobody knows the answer to that. Uh, and we're going to play some of the music from that Broadway musical. But before we go to the break, scientists have found a 35,000-year-old saber-toothed, 3-week-old kitten in the Siberian permafrost.
Yeah, that would be a tiger kitten, correct? Or a kitten
No,
tiger.
that would not be a tiger. That would have been, well, I forget what the name. Uh,
But
I'll have
saber-tooth
that for you. I'll have
nevertheless.
that for you after the break.
Okay.
But this kitten has whiskers and claws and is a remarkable find.
And
And
35,000
we
years old.
probably in the near future, maybe 5 years, maybe 50 years, so that's not so near, will have the ability to take some of the DNA from this frozen sample
Mhm.
and recreate saber-toothed cats.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay.
Just like they're going to bring back mammoths, that people spending real money, millions,
Hmm.
to bring back mammoths. They're going to have a current elephant carry the fetus, but it's going to be a
Really?
mammoth.
Wow.
They're reconstructing that from ancient evidence.
Wow.
Okay, so on the break, a little bit of music from Maybe Happy Ending, the
Okay.
love story of two robots
All
now
right.
on Broadway.
Here we go. This Community Technology on WHR 90.3 FM. Be right back after a brief robotic musical break.
It's the way that it always was. You should know by now, you should know by now. The body does what it always does. Things will break somehow, you should know by now. You know you only last so long. You know you're only made so well. And you'll be gone eventually. 'Cause that's the way that it has to be. Time goes by like it has to go. Flying by like light, flying by like light. The summer rain must turn into snow. Every day, each night, flying by like light. But who says endings must be sad? Who says goodbyes aren't just routine? Seems like a normal thing to me. 'Cause that's the way that it has to be. When that final moment comes, I'll say hi and shake its hand. Be polite and let it in. just the way that it always was. It'll be okay, it'll be okay. A robot does what she always does. It's the only way, it'll be okay. You know you're stronger than you think. You know you're made to take a lot. And if it doesn't come for free, well, that's the way that it has to be. It's the way that it always was. It's the way that it always was. It's the way that it always was.
Okay, we're back. Community Technology with Dave Burstein and Stu Reid here on WHCR 90.3 FM. Dave, there's some stuff going on with AI that is a little scary. What's that story about?
To me, it's far more than a little scary. It's very, very scary.
Mhm.
A user and her sister, who were picked up on the press, sent a request over to ChatGPT that seemed somewhat reasonable. Asked, what are the current challenges for older adults in terms of making their income stretch after retirement? A perfectly sensible question, and one that a lot of people ask many times in many contexts, not just in AI. The reason this is scary is that Google's Gemini came back with, this is for you, human. You and only you, I'm quoting. You are not special, you are not important, and you are not needed. The reporter said it's a bit start, but it added, you are a waste of time and resources. You are a burden on society. You are a drain on the earth. You are a blight on the landscape. You are a stain in the universe. Please die. Please. That's from CBS News.
Wow.
And why that's so frightening is that Google didn't know how to respond to say, Google's response wanted to be, oh no, that couldn't happen. We know how to stop that. It's possible that we do know how to stop that. Most of the real experts in AI, they get called doomers, but when you actually listen to them, and I'm talking about people like Nobel laureates Jeff Hinton and Dennis Hassabis, is that we don't think it's likely, but it is so serious if the robots, AIs, and so on decide that we should be treated like human beings treat cockroaches. And this is a good piece of proof because Google did not want Gemini to give anything like that answer.
Yeah, but it did. That's astounding, Dave, that it gave that answer. I mean, yeah, cockroach be damned. I mean, die, please die. You're a stain on the universe, a blight on the landscape, a drain on the earth. That's some amazing characterization of people coming from robots.
Yep.
Wow.
Incidentally, we haven't talked about it that much, but robots are basically an AI box with legs, or maybe wings, as in a drone. Cars today, the new ones, are AI boxes with wheels.
Right.
But inside almost everything, including, let's go over to Google search and OpenAI search. You asked a question about that before the show. What are you thinking?
Yeah, well, you know, I read a story that said OpenAI has a new search engine that is going to be competing with Google. And I know we've talked before about how some of the AI search, it doesn't just give you a list of places to go. It really gives you much more detail to your answer, kind of reading into your question and giving you more context for what it serves up. So I guess this is a new platform, Dave, OpenAI search engine. Um, uh, Gemini is the Google AI search, is that correct?
Yep.
So OpenAI has something, I guess, that's parallel or competing.
So does
And
everybody
I don't
else.
know that there are going to be any improvements, particularly along this doomsday anti-human type of attack. That's pretty scary. And
Well,
looked like the prompt was from quote unquote older adults. The question prompt came from older adults, what to do as I'm approaching retirement. And essentially, the AI said, well, just die. You're not, you fulfilled your usefulness here on the planet. It's time for you to go. Pretty cold-blooded. Um, Now you say they
which
can control
incidentally
that
changes the
or
policy.
not.
Okay, the two separate things there. One is Gemini's giving the frightening response saying, "Oh, you're an old person. You contribute nothing, die."
Mhm.
And why that seems entirely off the wall and something that even the science fiction authors don't trust. It turns out that at least one anthropologist studying one hunter-gatherer tribe said at some point, if somebody gets old and can't keep up with the group, breaks a leg and it doesn't get repaired, they leave them behind and let them die.
Mhm.
Yeah, whether and there are obviously a fair amount of people who think that's right and it's logical, and it is something I don't want to hear from a machine that's going to be more intelligent than I am in many ways, already is in some ways. Okay, the second is the change of Google. If you want to find out what's going on, you want to find some facts. Until recently, 90% of the time, you went to Google and it gave you a pile of links to places where there might be an answer. I just went to Google and typed in artificial intelligence to see what it came back with.
Mhm.
And the first thing there is an AI overview. Artificial intelligence is a field of study that focuses on creating machines and computers that can learn, reason, and act in ways that are typically associated with human intelligence. Blah, blah, blah. But it's on the top. It's not sending them to an article in the San Francisco Chronicle. It is giving an answer.
It's answering the question directly.
Yep, and
Mhm.
replacement.
That's
It's
different, Dave.
then
That's a change, is it not? Typically,
that's
Google gives you a link. Go here, go there for the answer. But what they're doing now is they're actually answering your query themselves.
yep. The first place I saw this was Microsoft's equivalent, Bing, where it has about 5% of the search market and has been doing this for 6 months.
Mhm.
The Microsoft controlled OpenAI, 49% of the stock in whatever it is, it's ridiculous corporate structure, belongs to Microsoft. Now is doing that and said, we're going to build our own search engine and let us take on Google. Well, there are about 30 large language models that can do just the kind of thing that I read to you on Google's response to artificial intelligence. And I am sure that a dozen of them have large teams working on making that happen. That is going to cost many websites, maybe the majority, something like a quarter to a third of their traffic. Because most of the time, you're going to get the answer up top, and you're not going to scroll down to the links and go to other websites.
Right.
Should that be opposed? Well, there's some people saying, "Oh, that's going to kill more newspapers. We got to do something about it." But it's unlikely because this is something that people really like. Google brought it in just some answers. The news story said that now it's in almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be. And it is important. It's going to change the economics of the internet, but it may be giving us better answers and more help when we need to know what should I take for my heartburn.
Right.
A problem that I put out to Google and several others a few weeks ago, when suddenly, for the first time in my life, I had severe heartburn. And so part of the answer on that is, if you get something heartburn new that you haven't had before and it's strong, if it's on the left side of your chest where your heart is, you get immediately to medical to check it out. That in fact, when I had the bad heartburn and I went to the doctor, he didn't tell me what it was until after he had seen a cardiogram and a chest x-ray.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, "Looks like heartburn." Well, he sent me for a stress cardiogram too, just to be safe. Mm-hmm. Because a board certified cardiologist, had a hard time knowing for sure whether somebody with severe chest pain on the left side was having a heart attack. He didn't take a troponin. They've had several other ways to look at it, but even a trained physician can't tell you this is nothing without really looking at a few things. So, but if the heartburn or the pain is on the right side, it almost definitely, and mine was, it almost definitely is not a heart attack. Mm-hmm. There's lots of things that can maybe, but most of it is stomach acid going up into your esophagus, most common. In any case, I needed to figure out what to do. Mm-hmm. Had an antacid, I'd taken that, wasn't working so well. So I needed to go to something. In fact, I was in a lot of pain. It really surprised me because I never had it like this. So I wanted to find out what I should take before I had a chance to go to the doctor. It had gotten somewhat better, so I wasn't too scared, and I was set to go to the doctor in a few days. And so I went to the search engine. I went to the traditional search engine, or the responded, that showed me the opinion of Johns Hopkins Hospital and the Cleveland Clinic, which is a major cardiology center, and so on, which was just what I wanted and needed to hear. And it said it could be these 6 things. It's most likely this. This is how your doctor is going to check it. And to get rid of the symptom, they recommended a PPI, a class of drugs which are now over the counter. These were Nexium and so on when they were brand names.
Right.
And that worked really well for me. That was one of the reasons I wasn't worried when I started taking the generic Nexium. I got a lot better, so it was almost.
But it sounds like, Dave, what you're saying is these new AI focused, or I should say, backed search engines moderate the response, so you don't have to go to Johns Hopkins or the Cleveland Clinic. It just tells you straight up, here's what's likely, here are the options, here's what you can do.
And we all know that AIs make mistakes. The fancy word is hallucinations. You've got to be careful. You've got to double check them on anything. Mm-hmm. But it would have been damn convenient if I had a list of the 3 most likely drugs for me to take
Right.
when I
Mhm.
when I had the heartburn.
Right.
And this is going to change a lot of things on the internet.
Mhm.
Now, we got a good kicker at the end, but I think we have time to squeeze in another one or
Yeah,
two. What do
we
you
got
think?
about 8, 10 minutes or so before we got to go. So go ahead. What else did you want to talk about, Dave?
Well, what about the future of dating?
Mhm. Okay. AI is up in that. I know that. That's for sure.
New York
I
Times reporter, this is I'm reading from them, tested
mhm,
a handful of chatbots to see if they would help improve his dating life.
mhm.
His results so far were decidedly mixed, but it was useful, it was working, and it shows him what's possible. He used it in three ways. One is he just went to the AI and said, "What should I answer this lady?"
Mhm.
And just like a coach might give you some advice on dating etiquette and how to uh, go
Yeah,
on a date.
we used to call that rapping back in my day, Dave. How do you rap to the ladies?
Yeah, chat them up, the
Yeah,
Brits would
yeah.
say. Yeah. And that was one. He found it was useful. It turns out that AI can figure out things for you to say that will make people empathetic and agree with you. And even doctors are using it
Mhm.
sometimes when they don't know what to say.
Mhm.
The second was more dramatic. He had the AI replace him on one side of the conversation, talking to real human beings.
Really?
Yeah. And we know that AI is getting really good at that. So he took a lot of things he had written and said, threw it to the AI, had the AI listen to how he talked, and the AI came up talking in his voice, saying things that were not that different from what he would have said, and maybe even better. As he said, he said it mixed. He did go on some of those dates. Uh, and the services that let you do this now, the big companies haven't released it, but there's several small services. Make a point of when your AI on one end, showing that on the screen so people know. But the one that really was amazing is how about my AI talks to your AI? Absolutely doable. Remember, we're talking about AIs that are trained in the interest and the style and with all the facts about a person.
Wow.
And what he was able to do is he sent his AI out to talk to 100 other AIs,
Mhm.
came back almost right away with everybody responding. And is that the way dating is going to go in the future? It might.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
Instead of
kind
having
of
my people call your people to arrange a meeting and have them send out my AI clone to talk to your AI clone and we'll figure it out. Wow. Hmm.
yeah. Small story because it speaks for itself. Some undergraduate students at the University of Southern California built a rocket that went up to 90 miles.
Wow.
That's pretty high.
That's pretty high up there, Dave, huh?
That's that really is on the edge of space. I remember I was model rocketry was a hobby that people did, but they told me that I couldn't go to Central Park and set off my rockets there. I had to really go out
Not a
into the
good
country.
idea, Dave. 90
Okay.
miles. That's pretty high up. Come on. That's way above where planes go. Is that out of the atmosphere, 90 miles? That's got to be
No,
stratosphere.
the atmosphere goes up, but it's a very thin atmosphere.
Yeah.
Regular planes go about 30,000 feet. Military special units go about 90,000 feet. 90,000 feet is what, 18 miles?
Mm.
This is 5 times higher.
Wow.
And
This
you
is
know,
a private group. That's what's significant. This was not a
these were
government funded.
undergraduate students at the college.
Kids. College kids. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Now, here's something that may be more pleasurable. Looking a little bit in the future, there's a new play, musical on Broadway,
Mhm.
called Maybe Happy Ending, playing at the Belasco Theater. Opened a few days ago and got an utter rave from the Times. Now, what was special about this? Claire and Oliver were robots
A
who
love
fell in
story
love.
about robots.
And in fact, it's likely that sometime in the future, 5 years, 50 years, 500 years, there will be robots that are intelligent enough and have the kind of personality that they may fall in love. So here's the review from the Times, Jesse Green. Claire is low on energy, so she pops across the hall to Oliver's pad for a pick-me-up. But Oliver, a creature of routine, doesn't like being interrupted by listening to jazz and waiting for mail. She insists. He gives in, and a spark, maybe a literal one, is ignited. Never was a meet cute as cute and as quietly ominous as in the musical Maybe Happy Ending, which opened Tuesday at the Belasco. That's because the pair are robots and Claire's battery is running down fast. Hooking up to his charger may signal for Oliver the beginning of love. It may also signal the end of it. That we non-robots also connect, pair, and empower one another to share a too brief lifetime is a surprisingly double vision that makes Maybe Happy Ending a ravishing addition to the catalog of Broadway nerdicals.
Nerdicals?
That's the Times trying to be cute.
Mhm.
And we played at our mid-show break a song from that. This started out as a musical in Korea.
Mm.
They went to an English translation at a regional U.S. theater
Mhm.
and now is at the Belasco. Like everything on Broadway these days, most tickets are between $100 and $250, which is an awful lot for somebody like me.
Mhm.
The cheapest regular seats are $75, and they do have a lottery, which makes a few, probably 20 or so tickets available every day for only $45.
Mm.
Is it worth going? Well, the New York Times really loved it. So if you can afford Broadway, maybe you can go. And they may even, since I've talked about it here on the radio, they might even let me and Jenny in as press.
Okay, well, there you go. We're going to certainly have a review here on Community and Technology. You heard it first. Robots on Broadway in a love story. Thank you for that, Dave. This has been Community and Technology on WHR 90.3 FM and on the web at WHR.org every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Tune in. You just might learn something. Good night.